We are back with an unexpected update. I just uploaded a video a few hours ago. This woman who cheated on her second husband with her first husband, and it was pregnant by the first husband, but it wasn't really the first husband. All kind of nonsense. But there was more to the story with more videos, so we're back with an update. So if you guys didn't see that, this lady whose TikTok is House of Keto, and she will now be referred to for the remainder of this video as Keto Ho. Keto Ho married her childhood sweetheart when she was 19, had his baby, and then slept with her boss and divorced her husband, or they got a divorce. Go on to marry that boss for a decade and have another child with that man, and then they end up divorcing. While she's going through a divorce now, she's pregnant with her first husband. She also dropped a random line in the first video about how it really wasn't her first husband. She actually was married one time before that when I think she was a minor. We get into all this nonsense. Let's get to it.
Back to the story about my ratchet life and how I cheated on my husband, not bragging, but sharing with you guys because I want to be transparent, and I share about it on my other social media platforms. So this is the only one that I don't, and it's really hard to keep an aesthetically curated page over here of just recipes when that's not all that I do. So anyway,
it's a lot of work, and I want to be a thought.
Go watch the other videos that are like before this, or search my playlist that says new here, and you'll find all this new content in the whole story. If you watch them in order, it kind of makes sense, but remember, I'm still in the middle of a legal battle right now, so I can't say everything. So yeah, unnamed boss who was 18 years older than me basically helps me navigate through this divorce, and it turns out that I end up with custody of our daughter. And Anthony, I was living in Maryland at the time. Anthony and I both grew up in Virginia Beach, but we were living in Maryland at the time. Anthony decides to move back to Virginia to be back with his family. And we worked out a custody arrangement where he would see Penelope, our daughter, who was like 9 months at the time. He would see her.
So pause for the cause. They were married together and she cheated with her boss. And then, so they were going through a divorce. Their baby's only 9 months old at the time. She cheated when?
Like one weekend a month, she would get to go down there to Virginia. She was like, by the time
trying to follow all this ratchet nonsense. So once they divorced, she got custody of the baby. He moved back to VA to be with his fam. He got the baby once a month visitations. Okay.
The divorce was over. She was like 1.5.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he did that for a while. And this is the part where I can't really share like a lot of the details, but something happens. Me and unnamed boss are not married yet. We didn't get married until like maybe 3.5 years later, but something happens where someone else, I can't say who, gets involved with my custody handling situation with Anthony.
The husband, the boss.
And basically the sentiment was to keep things transparent on my end, that all communication would go through one portal. However, somehow I didn't see this communication after a certain point.
What? This lady's so full of shit. She didn't marry the second dude initially. She just said it was 3.5 years, which means he wasn't her husband when her and her first husband was going through the divorce. But somehow he took control and the dude had to go through him to see his daughter. He is full of it. She didn't allow her first husband to see his child for 10 years. That's what happened. And the way she explained it to her TikTok audience is that it was her second husband, the boss, that was the middleman, and he intervened and he stopped her, and she didn't know about it for 10 years. And it's crazy, man, because the way she worded it as if it's something out of her control and nobody on her channel is going to challenge her. No, you didn't allow your first husband to see his daughter for a decade. And now that I think about it, he a goddamn fool for getting back to you. Or maybe I'm hearing that wrong, but I don't think so.
So at one point, I think that Anthony stops requesting to see his daughter, but I will not find out until 10 years later that he was actually still requesting to see her. I just didn't know about it.
Stop the cap. Why you always lying?
Get out of here.
Again, not saying who, and this is allegedly, but I have seen proof of things that I need to see proof of that make me confident in being able to make the statement that I'm making up until this point. So after Penelope's about 3 years old,
the daughter
Anthony
Penelope
stops.
She's telling all their information. Penelope, I feel sorry for you.
Exercising his visitation, but
You ain't have nothing to do with none of this.
Continues to pay weekly child support. He has done that for the entire time. So he continued to take care of his daughter.
Of course he has.
What I was believing was he was just not accessing his parental rights.
Boss came in and became the middleman between Anthony, her first husband, which really isn't her first husband, and all communications went through him to get to her. And he didn't tell her for 10 years that he was trying to get more visitation than a 1 weekend a month.
Stop the cap. Why you always lying?
Well, we don't believe you. You need more people.
Nobody believes that shit. None of us around here, none of us, myself and none of my viewers, we don't believe none of that nonsense.
Married our boss, and now I'm currently...
Oh, our boss. So they work together. I didn't catch that. This is a disgusting love triangle. Wow. I didn't know that he worked together as well.
Going through a divorce from
That's crazy.
The boss, and I'm having my second husband's baby. So the story left off where Anthony and I, the guy that I met when I was 7, second husband, childhood sweetheart,
shout out to Anthony,
divorced. So throughout our divorce wasn't like, our divorce wasn't nasty like he's fighting I'm fighting. Our divorce was like I was fighting. I was just like, I said a lot of really...
Are you kidding me? Come on, man.
shitty things about Anthony. I said a lot of things about Anthony that were not true. Mind you now, unnamed boss had a really big hand in how I handled my divorce. Years older than me, very influential, very convincing. This is my opinion.
No accountability.
Very just like, this is what you need to do, writing things for me rewriting them in my handwriting, things like that. Okay. Throughout the divorce process, I end up like being isolated from my family. My family did not support what I was doing whatsoever. Anthony's family was still here in Virginia, but OBS did not support it. Literally isolated from all of our friends, my family, like just, they didn't support what I was doing. And if they didn't support what I was doing, I had to cut them off. So I didn't really have any support. Literally the only person that I had was unnamed boss. So he was my only sounding board. He was my only place for advice. He was my only place to, if I was going to say, I don't know if I want to do this, or I don't know if I had nobody to say it to. Unnamed boss, it is my opinion that the entire last 10 years, or our entire relationship, that everything that I've done has been recorded, whether it be on audio recordings from my car, video recordings, cameras all over our house. If I even wanted to have a conversation where I would call someone and say, hey, I'm not really sure about this, or I think I'm making a mistake, I couldn't.
Stop the cap. Why you always lying?
Now her husband is goddamn I Spy. What is going on here, man? Stop the cap.
I couldn't, is my opinion, because of the backlash that I would get from that. And it was just a really weird situation, a very weird dynamic in the relationship. And I think it had a lot to do because of the age, and because I had been so sheltered. I saw this person as like, I almost idolized this person because he had lived this life. Like, he told me stories and has told stories before about how he had been a drug dealer before, he had been shot, he had been stabbed, like all of this crazy stuff that to me was just like the most fascinating thing in the world. I'd never met anyone like that. So I don't know why, but I literally believed everything that he said. I feel
chasing the bad boys
like a effing idiot, EFFFFFING, effing idiot. But I did it. So our divorce was, it was rough. It was very rough.
It was one-sided because she admitted he didn't do anything. She made up things about him and started all the shit.
And I regret a lot of the things that I said and did.
Oh, if you can't see it, here's the part. A lady asked her, wait, I thought Anthony was your first husband, because she casually mentioned in the video I posted earlier today, she actually had married someone else before she married Anthony, who was supposed to be her first husband, her childhood sweetheart. This is where she tells that story.
About how I cheated on my second husband with our boss, and then I married our boss, and now I'm in the middle of a divorce from our boss and pregnant with my second husband's baby. I'm not lying, y'all. I'm literally here telling my whole truth. I've shown y'all everything but my booty hole, okay? At this point, so first husband, I was 17, 18. Like, I don't think I was necessarily a rebellious kid, but homeschooled at 15 years old. I graduated from high school at 16. We moved from Virginia to Maryland because like my sister was going to get married to this guy when she was 16, and they ended up calling off the engagement. So my parents had to sell our house. We moved back to Maryland, where my parents are both from.
Pause for the cause, man. You can have a 2-parent household. Both parents are functioning adults, great people. I'm just saying, they could have been great parents, but to have 2 teenage daughters wilding like this, nah, man, something's going on, bro.
And I meet this guy who was a friend of this guy my sister was dating on a blind date. This was like my first time being able to like go out and like do stuff. And I met this guy on a blind date. My parents like did not want me to have anything to do with him because like the first time he came over to our house, he was like looking at porn on my dad's computer. And my parents were like, absolutely not. And I was like, you're not going to tell me what to do. And so I go on this struggle with them for like this whole year of like secretly talking to this guy behind their back. And like they're telling me like, we're going to kick you out the house if you don't stop talking to him, all this stuff. And I'm just like, I'm going to keep talking to him. Cut to, I end up running away from home. I married this guy so I don't have to go back home. Technically in the state of Maryland, I wasn't even old enough to get married because you have to be pregnant in order to get married. But luckily he had some ratchet sisters also. And they always had friends that were pregnant and went into a patient first and took a pregnancy test as me so that we could go apply for a marriage license. We get married. The agreement was we would only stay married until I was 18. And then after that, sayonara, that marriage was over. I have not spoken to that man. I don't even know what that man is doing. God bless his heart, his soul, and his whole entire.
That doesn't make any sense.
Stop the cap. Why you always lying?
Family. But yeah, so when I actually, the reason for the divorce on that end, I found out some information that I cannot and will not talk about, but I absolutely could not stay. Called my parents and was like, I am an effing dummy. Come pick me up. They came to pick me up. Anthony was there and was like, yeah, you are effing dummy. Let's try to like make this work and finally get back together. And
Anthony was there on the rebound. That was your red flag. That was red flag number 1, even if you was a teenager, bro.
Anthony and I are together for like a couple of months, and I think, gosh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. That was before I ran away. Anthony came back around and we like tried to make it work, and then I was like, no. He broke my heart. He was supposed to go back home to like get his stuff, and then like he didn't come back. He like started talking to some girl, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go marry this guy. So then when I finally did divorce first husband 1, Anthony literally, my parents come to pick me up. I had my guitar and like my bag of clothes, and Anthony was in the car. And that's how we literally transitioned into him and I getting married, me having to find a new job, and where I meet unnamed boss.
That's Simp Anthony over there. That's her first husband, but really her second husband. Can't make this shit up. She said he was 2 or 3 years older than her, Anthony. This is her first husband, which really turned out to be her second husband. Once he was in the car to pick her up, she went somewhere and married some dude, and her family, she realized it was a mistake, called her family, and they came and picked her up. Can I be honest with y'all for a second? I hate the fact that I'm using this much brain energy trying to keep up with this ratchet nonsense. Man, it's really pissing me off because I'm trying to remember all of it, but it's pissing me off. Why? Why am I wasting the time? For y'all, man, so y'all better hit the goddamn like button. Moving on. But when Anthony was in the vehicle with her family to rescue her from that bad choice that she made, and he found out that she married another dude, even if she was 16, he was 18 or 19, you should have been like, nope. Not doing it. It should have been your red flag number 1, man. But what the hell do I know? I'm just a pothead talking on YouTube. You guys let me know what you think after party in the comments. My name's Theodore Cooper, but you can
Call me bitch.
Keto ho, you're gross. Do better. No. So she's trying to paint a picture that the second husband, who just called Boss. So you got Keto Ho, Anthony, and Boss. Keto Ho and Boss. Keto Ho is saying that Boss. Keto Ho is saying, without trying to say it, is that the Boss stopped Anthony from. What the fuck am I doing? Why am I trying to figure all this shit out? Let's go.